Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked his ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello, and welcome to the Creative Control Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Kenan, and thank you for joining us on this week's episode. Joining me from the Creative Control team, as usual, our regular staples, we have Neil and Sacha. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. So this episode, we're continuing our Halloween horror theme special. So we've, if you watched it, if you have or haven't watched our last episode, we ranked all the Halloween movies, also giving our review of Halloween Ends as well. So we're keeping on trend, like I said, with Halloween. 'Tis the season before the next season, which is Christmas. So we'll basically be discussing horror movies which are either ready for a sequel or a reboot. Or maybe there's some franchises or ideas out there which haven't really been made into a horror yet, which actually could do with the horror treatment. So look, horror movies, you know, you could argue they're a dime a dozen, but you know what? They're cheap to make and they make box office. There's a huge amount of horror fans out there. Neil is our horror guru, which you'll know if you watched our top 10 horror movies, which you did last year, or the last episode we were ranking the Halloween movies. So what I'm going to do is, just before we start talking about which movies we would reboot or remake, I'm just going to refer back to our top 10 horror movies of last year. And you can tell me if any of these deserve a reboot or a sequel. Okay. And I don't think we have these in any particular order, but we're going to start off with The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. Mm-hmm. Do we want a remake or a reboot to that?
I don't want anything for that.
It holds up, right?
I want someone to diamond cast a case around the film reel of John Carpenter's and just say, open in case of emergency, just so you can watch it. We've got it on Blu-ray. We've got it on 4K. It's there. Leave it.
Just preserve it.
Yes, just preserve it. I think is it the American Film Preservation Society or the National Film Preservation, whichever one you are, lock it in.
Lock it in. I know, I'm in total agreement. Okay, what about The Exorcist?
I was going to say something.
What about the John Carpenter thing? Sorry, Sash, go. You were silent. Let's go.
Wasn't one of my favourites, man. You know what? Yeah, I agree with Neil 100%. It's a bona fide classic. And also, like, it itself was a remake of The Thing way back in the day. And I just think he just did the quintessential version. I mean, there was a prequel that came out back in 2011, and I actually didn't mind the prequel. But here's the thing, like, John Carpenter wanted to do a sequel to The Thing, okay? He wanted to do a sequel to The Thing. And the whole point was it was supposed to take place directly after the first thing, and you were supposed to have Kurt Russell and the other guy in there.
Keith David.
Yeah, there we go. And obviously, you know, didn't come to fruition because I don't think the movie made box office.
It wasn't successful when it came out.
Just like most of his films became a cult classic over time. So, I mean, I personally, like, some people might argue, I want to see that film, but it's like, no, for me, I see it, Kurt Russell's McCready, I want to recast, it's a classic, leave it alone. Leave it the hell alone. You can remake it when I'm dead, and you guys can enjoy that version. But while I live, I want to see The Thing as a remake. Okay? So, yeah.
I'll tell you, I want to point out one thing with The Thing, because the more I think about it, the more it just gels in there. I watch roughly 30 horror films over the month of October every year. I've been doing this for, I think, maybe maybe 10 years now, and I've been like documenting it for at least the last 5. The first time I watched The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, the defibrillator moment made me jump out of bed and be like, this scene's getting rewound, because I know I didn't just see what I thought I saw. I was like, no, that's too good to just get watched. This is the first time I'm watching it. I don't know what's about to happen after. And I was like, run that back. Play that again.
So now that I'm thinking about it, could there be a sequel? I mean, like, set years later. I mean, if you think about it, archaeologists go to Antarctica all the time. That whole base would have snowed over.
Yeah.
It would have snowed over. Okay. Kurt Russell, if he was to show up, it'd literally be as an ice statue, or you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we found the remains.
Well,
you go. That's the other crew. Whoever finds those remains, and then you could take it anywhere. But then really, it's about trying. But then all you're doing is just remaking the original, but still keeping it relevant. Which is what the 2012 one did. So you'd have to. If you were to do a sequel to it, you'd have to build upon that original film, and bring something more to it. Otherwise, if you're just gonna do another one just with a brand new star cast, there's no point to go back there. That's what I think anyway. I mean, you could do it because the genre does that. Let's not even kid. The genre could. Does that time and time again. However, I personally feel like don't do it unless you can Terminator to it. You know what I mean? Like,
I like that. You should get that on a T-shirt, bro. Don't do it unless you can T to it.
Until you can T to it. Yeah, totally.
What I was going to say, right? I was going to point out.
You know what? I'm going to get that printed.
Gonna point out, right? There's actually a couple of sequels to The Thing in comic book form. One, because for those of you who are watching or listening who don't know the information that I'm about to give you, you're welcome. The end of the film, one of those 2 survivors is The Thing. And the film's old enough. I could say who it is. It's Childs. Keith David's character Childs is The Thing. He's not him. And there are multiple little subtle hints as to why it's him. And there are comic books, like I think most of the comic books kind of go directly after the end of the film. Where, and you find out, yes, Childs is infected. But I'm like, I mean, if you couldn't get Kurt Russell and Keith David back, it's not even worth pitching it.
Yeah, no, fair point. It's a precious entity. So as we moved on, as I mentioned, The Exorcist. Now that has had a sequel in terms of its TV show. Now I've never watched this show. I'm not even sure you can get it over here in the UK.
Yep. Yes, you can.
Yeah, what's that? Amazon Prime, is it? Right. Okay. So The Exorcist. Neil, what are you saying? Is it a true sequel? Do we need anything more from that franchise, or just the series keep on going?
The only strong disappointment I have to that, The Exorcist sequel, is it wasn't a movie. It should have been a 2-hour, 10-minute movie. Yeah, 2 hours and 10 minutes, maybe 2:20 at a push, but it should have been a TV show. It shouldn't have been a TV show, sorry. It should have been just another movie. Because, I mean, should I reveal information about it or just let people go and watch it? Because the show ain't that old.
Yeah, I'd say the show's fairly new, and if people are listening to this, they might even not know it's there or not, so let them go check it out. So, yeah.
Go and watch it. It does start out a bit shaky, because when I started watching it, I didn't know if it was a reboot or if it was a remake or if it was just a straight sequel. It is a sequel, and you will find out why. And when you find out why, I was like, "Ooh, that gave me the shimmy in my chair." I was like, "Yes, I like this show."
Like about 4 or 5 other sequels.
No, I mean, yeah, there's The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and then there's The Exorcist 3, right? But this is like this is like 2018's Halloween. It's a true sequel to that first film.
Speaking of that, there's going to be the Creative Control sequel of that film, because I am going to the house where they shot it on Sunday.
Ooh,
Being invited
spooky much.
Yeah.
Text me to let me know you got home safe, yeah?
Well, I've got 2 things, because it's Charlottesville, and that's where the KKK march was. So,
Pick your moments, bro.
Pick your horrors, man. Pick your horrors. It's not bad.
Okay, so following on from The Exorcist, so actually the series is supposed to be getting a reboot as a movie, and it's going to be directed by David Gordon Green, who just did Halloween Ends.
Okay, I can see that working.
So Leslie Odom Jr., Hamilton and Knives Out 2, is going to star in the new Exorcist trilogy. So apparently it's being pitched as a trilogy, much like the Halloween reboot was. The first is confirmed to be directed by Gordon Green, and Ellen Burstyn is back as Chris McNeil. So she's coming back. So I don't know how this is going to fit with the TV show and the original movie and stuff like that. But yeah, so she says she's coming back.
The thing is, the first season, and I'm sure people like those watching or listening to us, if I'm wrong, please just like correct me in the comments with respect. The first season of the Exorcist TV show is like a definitive end to that story.
Right, okay.
The second season branches out into something different.
Interesting. So I wonder if they'll follow on for that, because she says she's already filmed her scenes for it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether they filmed that at the same time they were doing the TV show, or whether they're going to use part of the TV show in terms of the relaunch of the new trilogy. Like you say, it's very, very strange. So we'll have to see what's coming. But yeah, so, if you're a fan of The Exorcist, go check out the series on Amazon Prime. And then we're going to get a new Exorcist movie. Should be next year, I believe. Okay, so, this one has been going around back and forth. I believe we're going to be getting a Disney TV show of this. Third on our list was Alien.
okay, so I'll be honest with you. With me personally, I didn't mind Prometheus, and I'm kind of in the middle when it came to the last installment. I know Joe's a huge fan of all of it. When I say all of it to do with Ridley Scott. Personally, I'm with Joe. I hate incomplete. I'm a completist, and I just want Scott to finish whatever the hell he was trying to do there. Okay, in terms of an Alien movie, wow, I think I'm going to speak for a lot of people. Just let Neil Blomkamp do his thing, man. Let Neil Blomkamp do his thing. All right, let's forget Resurrection.
Because he was going to bring back Sigourney Weaver, wasn't he, and do like a new. It was going to replace Aliens 3, right? It was going to go right back to the second film and do a sequel.
Yeah. Now, hear me out, for all you Alien 3 fans. Okay, I've seen this film on 3 occasions. Once in 1996, when a year after, because I was a kid, so I couldn't see that in the cinema. So when it first came on VHS, okay, and I was like, "Fuck this film, it's bullshit," and I just refused to watch it again, because that's what I do when I don't like something. All right, but around the time of Covenant, I was like, "Fuck it, let me check it out." I checked it out, and you know what? Alien 3 isn't that bad. All right, I know that's sacrilege to say, so it's not that bad. Like, considering what David Fincher went through to make it, most films you can tell was shot really badly or rushed. And at no point did I feel that about Alien 3. I can tell you other badly made movies, like recently, like superhero movies and stuff, where I felt that's toilet, that felt rushed, or you know what I mean? And then you find out, see, that was right. But with Alien 3, it never felt like it had production problems while watching it. It felt like a solid movie. The beginning, middle, and end. But you have to get over the fact that you just watched Aliens and you'd fallen in love with Newt and Hicks and the Bishop, and you know what I mean. So you know, once you get over that, if you can, it's not that bad. It's not that bad a film. Is it the movie I wanted? No, but you know, if that's all I got, that's fine. Alien Resurrection, I can't do it. I just can't do it, man. Because like the tone is off from the get go. It's got that goofy kind of like, you know what I mean, Batman and Robin kind of vibe, where it's just like, it was bad. And I, you know, like if you were to do one after Alien 3 with a new cast, fine. But like Blomkamp wanted to do what a certain degree of the fan base wanted, and that was to fuck off number 3. And you know what? I'm for it because if you can give me a film with Hicks and Newt and Bishop, I'm game. And if you've seen some of the production art and you know all the stuff that they did for that, it looked amazing. The only reason why it never got made is because I think everything has to be signed off by Ridley Scott now, and you know that I get to a degree, but it's like at least come to a collaboration. You know what I mean? Like at least find some. Look, Creed 1 and Creed 2. Come on, like that's the perfect example. All right.
Yeah.
Jury's out on Creed 3 because you know. But we'll see when it comes out. It's too early to say. But at least we got 2 great movies out of that. Like, come on, Mr. Scott. Just talk, man. Talk. Give us that. Give us that goodness.
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah, in terms of where we are with the Alien franchise, so, yeah, the Sigourney Weaver stuff is, that's dead. That's not happening. So they said one of the producer, Walter Hill, he basically said, we took a shot at that a couple of years back with Sigourney, but that was back when Alien was still at Fox. The people at Disney who now control Aliens have expressed no interest in going down that road. I had an idea for a good story with the Ripley character, Sigourney, but yeah, that's not happening. So there's 2 things. So one, we've got the TV series. So that is taking place before Ripley. So it's kind of supposed to be the first in the Alien franchise that takes place on Earth. So it's supposed to take place like 70 years from now, like 2092. But yes, no Ripley, nothing part of that. But then you've also got the Alien movie being directed by, I don't know, is it Fede Alvarez from Don't Breathe? Yeah. So he's directing the movie, which is probably going to be the 3rd in the prequel trilogy from Ridley Scott. So Ridley Scott's going to produce that, and Alvarez is going to direct it. So you've got the 2 different things. So you've got the sequel movie for the prequels, and then you've got this series, Disney Plus, which is going to be, again, set way before Aliens and stuff like that. So that's where we sit with the Aliens franchise. Okay.
Prometheus, though.
I've watched them both once, and that's enough. I've not revisited them. I think I enjoyed the first one more, if I remember. But when I actually think about it now, if I was to try and tell you much about them, not really. They just didn't stick with me that much. But, I think they're probably a film which I do need to go back and rewatch, because I probably wasn't that familiar with maybe the Alien franchise as I was when I was watching those. And since then, I've kind of watched more of those films. So I think I might appreciate them differently. But yeah, for me, they're just, I mean, don't get me wrong, beautifully shot, stunning looking movies, but just didn't quite sit with me for whatever reason. Neil?
I liked Prometheus. I think I put too much expectation on the end of Prometheus directly leading into Alien.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I didn't like about Prometheus. I liked it. I liked the film as how it was.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the little alien thing at the end was not needed. Personally, I felt it was just there for some people. Personally,
that's the thing is, I feel like the film would have been better if the advertisement didn't hark on to the fact that it's supposed to be prequels to Alien, right?
Yeah, because
and obviously, you do the marketing to get bums in seats. You do what you need to do. I respect it. You have to do it. But at the same time, I look at it and I think that film could have been so much more, even with the ending the way it is. Like, don't change anything you shot. Maybe just alter the name. So instead of it being, the Wayland Company or Wayland Yutani, you give it a name, and then that's the company that becomes Wayland Yutani.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You just make the film, and then at the end of the film, people are like, "Oh, shit, that was an Alien film."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that would have been like, okay, cool, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. But because it was like the expectation you're sitting there is, when are we going to get to the alien? When are we going to get to the alien bit?
And I think that's the thing. I mean, with the last one, they looked at what they did with the first one, and they tried to drive that home again. You know what I mean? Personally, I would have watched the whole movie with Shaw and what's his name? David. Oh, yeah, Michael Fassbender. David. Yeah. I would watch the whole film with Shaw with David's head, just walking around exploring alien planets and shit. I want to see that movie where she's just walking with a detached head, like on a duffel bag or something, and this guy just being pissed off. And then when he gets a body, it makes more sense for him to try and fucking kill her. You know what I mean? Because that felt like, when you watch Covenant, that felt like, hang on, I'm missing a movie here that probably is a better film, because at the end of Prometheus, they went off on any adventure.
Their home world.
Yeah. And you knew like whatever happened was going to be some bad shit. So, but here's the thing: when Fox did Covenant, I remember he was saying like he wanted to build the franchise. That's the whole point. He says he sees 8 films before you get to Alien, and I'm just like, what? And I really do think if Covenant was more well received at the box office anyway, we would have got that. It made enough to warrant a sequel, but it didn't make the mad money to green light it straight away. And you got to understand, someone like Ridley Scott, he probably looked at the critical acclaim and the fan reaction and was like, okay, and he's probably changing the idea a little bit to make it more accessible, Now Disney,
and maybe he's putting it into the series,
Yeah, maybe because he's in charge of that. So
yeah, he's a producer on it. Yeah.
So
okay, moving on to the list. Right, so next we have Halloween. We touched on this in our last episode. I think this is a franchise which needs to be left alone for some time, right?
Forever.
But yeah, maybe even forever, but at least a good 10, 15 years. You need to let that character die for it to come back and have any kind of impact.
No, not 10, 15. Give it 40, right? look, we waited. We got 40 years between, 78 and 18. 40 is a good number. It's nice, round. Just leave it there.
Okay, leave it there.
I've got a different standpoint on this.
Oh, go on, Sash.
I would look at the reaction, and I'd literally be like, yo, we done fucked up. And then I'd go back. I'd be like, okay, if you look at the original run, it took us this much to get us to Halloween 2018. Fuck it. We promised 2 more movies. I'll remake those last 2 movies. Literally. Remake them.
I wouldn't.
Start again. Call it something different. But whatever happens is, 2018 happens. Let's give us something else.
Trouble is, bro, there's so many people who love those 2 movies. To try and retcon them now and say, no, they never happened. Believe me, I know from Twitter. You got to leave those movies alone, man. You got to leave those movies alone.
But these are the same
exactly
people.
what we said.
The
You
thing
make
is,
a
these guys got theirs. They got theirs. If they like that, they got theirs. But you got to understand, these are the same people that saw all the other Halloweens before and the Rob Zombie ones. So, you know what I mean? Horror's cheap, okay? Horror's cheap. The most expensive thing is Jamie Lee Curtis. Look, remake them, give it a proper ending, and if people hate them, they hate them. But at least we can pick which ones we like.
Honestly, I would just recut them. I wouldn't remake them. I would just recut them.
Yeah, you could.
So that they fit in reverse order. So you have Halloween 2018, then you have Halloween Ends.
Except for the last 20 minutes.
Now Halloween Kills. You know, so it's the end of Halloween 2018. There's a fire. Michael's gone. Then
he can be hiding in his sewer. You know, it doesn't matter.
And then, flash forward, then 4 years. Oh, Michael's gone, but the town's a bit hoo-ha because of it. Then we have Halloween Ends. Oh, here's Corey, and here's everything that happens with him. And then, oh, wait, Michael's not dead. And then, you know what? You flash back to that night and show Michael when he goes, when he goes ham on all them firefighters. You show that. So, oh, wow, he didn't die. He escaped, and then he went off into the sewers for a while to collect his thoughts and, train like a Shaolin monk after the master gets killed, And then we bring it back. There's a battle between Michael and Laurie. Laurie gets stabbed. That's how she winds up in the hospital. Then, boom, we cut, and then you have the whole of Halloween Kills, which is now Halloween Ends. And then at the end of it, you tack on the last 20 minutes of Halloween Ends to the end of Halloween Kills, and that's your movie.
Job done.
Anyone who loves those two movies as they currently are, be happy you got your movie. Those who were somewhat unimpressed or a little disappointed, we've recut it for you in a way that probably is more in line with what you expected, but didn't change anything, so nobody can really get upset. It's just the order you watch the films in.
It still ends the same way. It's just how you get there. So, yeah. Okay, so another one we had on our top 10 list was for last year, horror movies, was Scream. Now, to be fair, this is a franchise that, the last sequel did really well. I really enjoyed it. It was a throwback to the original. And we do have another one on the way. It's already being made. So for me, it's just, keep doing what you're doing. If it toes the line on the last one, carry on.
No.
Oh, Neil, I'm surprised. Tell me.
No, because you know what? I loved Scream 5. I know it's just called Scream. It's Scream 5.
Which is stupid, but yeah.
But my dislike comes in the fact that Scream 6 is not going to have Neve Campbell in it simply because the producers didn't want to pay her the money.
Hasn't that been reversed now?
The last I looked it up, it hadn't been reversed. The last time I looked it up, because Neve Campbell made a statement, released a statement, I am not in Halloween 6. The people making it, continue your good work. Enjoyed it. She was very polite about it. She was like, I'm out. I haven't, if something has changed, I just haven't been privy to that information. But
she's out. Yeah, she's out.
Yeah, it looks like she still is out. Yeah, I think that maybe they went back to her with more money, but at that point she was like, nah, the damage is done. So
yeah, see, and I'm not like, look, they made a Halloween movie without Michael Myers, and they had to make 2 back to back to be like, I'm sorry, we fucked up.
The thing is, though, with Scream, though, no offense to Neve Campbell, it'd be a real test to the franchise if it could survive without her. Technically, there's no real reason for Sydney to come back. Realistically, it's like, shit's going down there. Fuck that shit. I'm out. I've got Happy Ever After. They can't. I felt with this movie, they kind of, they kind of, fine. Yeah, I mean, it was fine, but I wouldn't say that she was needed. Her specifically. At least with Gail, you could bring her back because she's a news reporter, because her character would want to be part of the action, and she's such a media whore. You know what I mean? She's very much like, oh my God, that's associated with me. I need to be there. Da, da, da. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, she's the one that brings Sydney in anyway. I think Sydney just needs to chill, man. She's like,
no, she doesn't bring Sydney in.
Does she not? I can't remember.
Dewey brings Sydney in.
Dewey.
Yeah, well, he's dead now. So he's dead now. She don't need to
Spoilers.
be. She's living happy. She's living happy. I think it's a year old, man. She's living happy ever after, man. But this is make or break with the future of Scream, because if it could survive without Neve Campbell, and I'm not saying that they should all not have Neve Campbell, because obviously you want to bring someone back after a while, that's as a little zing to the new shit. But if the franchise is gonna carry on to be successful, you know what I mean, you have to introduce a new cast, which is what horror's always been about, and at least make the next gen likable. You know what I mean? Whoever they may be. That'll be hard, because I think the linchpin of the old guard will be what's her name? Gail Weathers.
Gail.
But because she's been in all of them. And I just think as long as Courtney Cox wants to do as many of them, by all means, have Courtney Cox do it. But then after a while, people are just going to be like, why are people stabbing people? And what's it going to do with this news reporter? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think as a kind of horror, more slasher than just regular horror, as a slasher movie purist, I need my definitive connecting thread. The definitive connecting thread through the Scream films have always been Sydney. Right? Even when you have The Madness, which was Scream 3, right? It was always a definitive link, which it was like, okay, Sydney, then it's revenge against Sydney, and then it's more revenge against Sydney, and then the fourth one was, it wasn't revenge against Sydney, it was using Sydney as a jump off point to get somewhere. Then the fifth one isn't about Sydney, it's about Billy Loomis having a illegitimate secret daughter, right? But even with that, it still links to Sydney, because Sydney was Billy's girlfriend. He was the reason, her family is the reason he went loop-de-loop in the first place. So it's like, to now be like, okay, no, we're focusing on another character who has no even minute indirect link to Sydney, especially because the way it ends, the way Scream 5 ends, it ends in a line to say, we're done in Woodsboro. Which technically is quite stupid, because if you think about it, only Scream 1, Scream 4, and Scream 5 are set in Woodsboro. Scream 2 and 3 are somewhere else entirely. It's just, not having Sydney in it makes zero sense. I wouldn't watch a Freddy Krueger movie without Freddy in it.
But she's not the bad guy.
Yeah, true. She's not the bad guy.
That's the counter argument.
No, that's true. She's not the bad guy. But even with...
From another point of view here.
Right. But even with, you say...
I like these films, by the way. Yeah. I like all these films. I haven't seen the TV show. Anyone seen the TV show?
No.
Was it bad, or was it...
I don't know.
It was just its own thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's saying, Halloween without Laurie. That's fine,
But that's the thing. So... It wasn't fine, because the Halloween 3 didn't have either Michael or Laurie, and it just wasn't well received. Halloween 4 had Michael, but obviously by that time, slasher movies were known more for the villain than they were for the hero or the heroine. And the point that they made was, it's still the familiar connection, because it's still Michael hunting a member of his family.
Yeah.
Right? And then still had to go back. So...
Well, I mean, look, we're not going to find that. It's not too long before we find out. I mean, a trailer will drop fairly soon, because it's out in March next year, so it's not too long. Okay, so let's talk about this one. I know we'll probably spell. So Jaws. For me, you don't touch it. You don't remake it. I don't want no CGI bullshit. We've seen what happened with the sequels. We've had shitty shark movies since. Anybody disagree?
No, I'm good with that. You know what? Actually, you know what? I know.
Sacha's thinking about it, and that's making me worried.
No, I lied. Do you know what I would like to see? You don't even need to call it Jaws, or if you do, you do it in the same way that they had when we had The Shining, the movie, Stanley Kubrick's one, and then you had Stephen King's The Shining, which is the one he did. Have a version of Jaws. Hell, you could make this an animated movie. I don't care. But you have a version of Jaws that's more like the book. Simply because there's some tiny little threads that I thought were very interesting in the book that aren't in the movie.
Interesting. Okay. But could it make a TV series?
Yeah, you can make it a TV series.
There you go. All right. Then it could be Stephen King. Then it could be who wrote the book?
I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Benchley.
Okay, Benchley's Jaws or whatever it is. But yeah. Okay, fine. Sacha, you are making faces. Do you want anything to happen to Jaws?
I was like, like Back to the Future 2 gave me the prophecy that there'd be like 29 of them. So,
19.
Yeah.
You were 19.
I had an extra 10 because 19 should have come out in 2015. So by the time it gets made, we've got another 10 more to make.
Yeah.
But you're right. Jaws has had its day. It was done after one. Yeah. Yeah, it works. Yeah. No, you know what? Actually, I'm with Neil because only if it was like with the Japanese version of it, not an American one, because it just didn't work. Didn't translate well. Never did. Like that first film was bollocks. That first Ring film, the remake, didn't have the same aesthetic. It's just whatever in it.
Yeah.
But that first one, that OG one, the Japanese one, is it Japanese or Korean?
Yep, Japanese.
That first film shit me up so bad for a week. And then when the teaser poster came out, I was scared of looking at the teaser poster for the American one. And then the thing was, Ken, have you seen the original one or have you only seen the American one?
I'll be honest, I've not watched either.
Oh, damn. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
You say that with a smile because we were in different rooms.
Right. Okay. Here's the thing. All right. I'll be honest with you. It's not really, the OG one is not really a horror movie per se. It's more a film noir detective thriller about a detective trying to figure out why.
It's like a supernatural detective movie. That's the perfect example.
All I'm going to say, watch it. It's up there with 7. All right. It's good. It's damn good. Just watch the OG one. The American one went for, it's a horror, and they put little jump scares and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So when the big reveal happens, it wasn't as impactful. And the biggest difference between the two, the Japanese one was more physical effects, where it looked real, and it added to the tension, and whereas the American one was blatant, crappy 2000 CGI.
Yeah,
and doesn't hold up, and didn't even hold up back then. It was bad, and I was like, well, that's not even scary. Like, what the hell? Because seriously, I had nightmares for a week, and I was a grown man. Okay, like, it's just like watch the OG one. Watch it with Emma. Don't tell her it's a horror. Don't tell her it's a horror.
Don't do that.
I'm about to be married. I don't want that falling around me.
Yeah, don't do that. Right? Until the license is signed, don't do
that. Okay, so but I mean, we had different. We had sequels, right? So we had the Ring 2.
Yep.
We've got Ring O, Birthday.
and then Ring.
And then Ring. Okay.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
Are they good? They're worthy follow-ups?
The prequel is, for sure. I can't really remember Ring 2, though, that much. But I did like the prequel.
Okay. All right. Cool. So do we think that could have a reboot then? Or a sequel?
I mean, it could, but...
It could, but I'd leave it.
Yeah, I would just say leave it.
Okay, cool. Right, so then we've got REC.
Don't ever remake that film.
Do sequels?
That film has a concrete ending. There is 4 of them, and it has a concrete ending at the end of the 4th one. It's a beautiful franchise. If you mess with it, I'm not gonna say I hope, but if I found out that a curse came after you, I wouldn't be upset.
Okay, tell us how you really feel, Neil.
Yeah, right.
That second film, bro. Oh my god.
Look, the Rec films. The best way I can describe it: Rec 1 is Alien. Rec 1 is Alien. Rec 2 is Aliens.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, oh my goodness! I watched Rec. Rec is literally the only horror film I have ever gone to the cinema having known nothing about it. All I saw was I'll tell you how it is. I went to the cinema, Shepherd's Bush view, not Westfield, just Shepherd's Bush view, right? In the
original, the OG, yeah.
Yep. I went there and I watched Planet Terror. And when I was walking out of Planet Terror, there was a poster on the wall for Rec. And all I saw was the poster, and I was like, I'm having that.
Do you remember the remake?
Right. You know what's bad? I own it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, it's the equivalent of watching is it District 13?
Oh, yeah.
And then watching the American version?
Yeah, the
one with Paul Walker in it?
Paul Walker,
right.
Yeah, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I was like, the original Rec is it's a perfect horror film. Rec 1 is a perfect horror film.
That's what Resident Evil should have been.
Yeah, it is exactly that. If you are a Resident Evil fan...
And go, okay, we're going to use this film as the basis of what we want for a Resident Evil movie, and then they can take my money. But instead, can you believe Resident Evil has been remade twice in 1 year? And a series and a movie. And guess what?
They both sucked
in totally different ways, man.
And then you've got, Rec was it's a Spanish movie. So if anybody's trying to think, why haven't I heard of it or anything like that? Spanish movie. Budget was only $2 million. It's done well as a franchise. So I didn't even know that actually there was a 3 and 4. So now I'm gonna have to go out and watch those. But all right, cool. So we've got 2 more from our list, and then we'll move on to our new list. So Event Horizon, is that due a sequel or a reboot?
Okay, I have thoughts on this because it's in my list of things that for sequels.
Okay, for sequels. Okay,
but technically, I don't want a sequel. What I want, and I have to be very specific in what I say. I want someone, Elon Musk, if you listen to our podcast, please, sir. Look, I know you just bought Twitter, but you're a billionaire. You got some money. Invest in time travel. Go back to when they had just finished this movie, Event Horizon, and make sure there is no chance in hell of them destroying, losing, or damaging any of the reels for this film. So that I can watch the full 3-hour joint as intended. Because the scene, and everybody knows the scene when they find out what happened to the Event Horizon, that scene is supposed to be 10 minutes long. and it's graphic detail of what happens to this whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like the orgy from hell.
So, sorry, I tuned out there because a friend of mine, who I've known for literally about 30 years, has just said he's only just seen Predator 2.
Jesus.
That ain't your friend.
You gotta be more selective, bro.
Nah, there needs to be a screening process, right? A little quiz or something. Right?
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, like that scene, there was if any of you have it, you own Event Horizon, watch the special features just so you can watch the story behind this movie. I need that. That's all I need. But
that's all you need.
That's all I need. That's what I want. But I say like Event Horizon 2 so that they can make that.
Yeah. Sacha, Event Horizon, can you see that as a remake or a sequel?
Leave it alone, man. Leave it alone.
Mm-hmm. Leave it alone. It's in our top 10. It means it's good enough. Right, so the last one on the list, and this is one that I think is due a comeback, is A Nightmare on Elm Street. So this was remade back in 2010, produced by Michael Bay, actually, starring Jackie Earle Haley. As Freddy Krueger, who did a fine job, you know. But that was supposed to be the start and kickoff of a new franchise. Right. Didn't happen. But I think it's about time we start being afraid of our dreams again. So, yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, straight up reboot. No sequel. Reintroduce the character to a new generation for me. You can make it quite modern in terms of you could throw that social media aspect of it, like the rumors and, maybe it's something that used to be sort of like a folk tale, but then comes around and is real. I don't know, maybe something like that. But yeah, I think it's definitely due a comeback. What do you guys think?
You know what? It's weird. Freddy appears in both my due for a reboot and my sequels list. There is a reason for that, which we'll get into. I absolutely believe it's due a reboot because what they did with the 2010 reboot.
2010, yeah.
What they did with that, I didn't have any real issues with it because the problem is, for me, if you've watched every single Nightmare on Elm Street film, so from A Nightmare on Elm Street all the way to like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, beyond that with Freddy vs. Jason, if you've watched those films, Freddy has gone from a fear-inducing character to a psycho to Deadpool. Freddy was the original Deadpool, right? By the time we got to Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, he had become Deadpool. He was a supernatural Deadpool who killed teenagers, right? Because it's like every single Freddy movie has quotable lines, right? And I mean, most of them end with the word bitch.
Yeah.
Welcome to primetime, bitch. If it's
Scary Terry, bitch.
Yeah. Bon appetit, bitch. Everything is bitch. Hell, look. Give me 1 second. I'll prove something to you. If you can see it here, I don't know how well you can see it.
Okay, yeah.
It's a signed picture from Freddy vs. Jason. As you see up in this corner, is what Robert Englund wrote for me. It says prize fight bitch.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And I'm just saying that, most of what Freddy says ends with the word bitch. And it's just different. What A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 tried to do was they tried to reinvigorate the fear that Freddy could bring.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was, I think, because it was a straight up remake of what we had before,
Mm-hmm.
you could only go so far. I mean, to me, the most interesting thing about what they did, there's only two really interesting things about that movie. The exploration of dreams,
Mm-hmm.
with the whole thing of like, even if you stay awake for a certain period of time, you get micro naps and that.
Mm-hmm.
And the doubt that they put in your mind as to whether or not Freddy Krueger actually was the pedophile who killed those kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because to me, when it was questionable whether he did it or not, in my head, I was like, please make it he didn't touch the kids.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I thought, how interesting is that going to be if he didn't mess with the kids and the parents killed him anyway just because of mob mentality?
Yeah.
Only to find out he's innocent and now he's taking your children because you killed him.
It's a revenge, proper revenge. Yeah.
So he came back for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that there? That would have been a juicy movie. That would have been a beautiful movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, agreed. Okay. So let's start moving on to some other films that you guys had on your list in terms of horrors that deserve a sequel or reboots. Neil, take it away.
Right. Well, we just spoke about... Oh, please.
That's because you're on your phone, bruv. I don't know whether you're here or not.
Kenan was waiting for me to. I'd actually do a sequel.
Oh, what, to the 2010
one?
Sorry?
To the 2010 reboot?
Oh, no. I'd do one to the OG ones, man.
Oh, okay.
The problem with that is, though, they kill Freddy.
The
ending of Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, they absolutely kill him dead.
Yeah. So I'd do a sequel, man. I'd make up some bullshit, bring him back from the dead and whatnot. It's horror, man. Neil will get on that, okay? Trust me. Neil will think of a creative way, but because it's creative control, we'll have to think. I haven't put much thought.
It's Freddy. It was all a dream. That's it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But point being is, it would be a sequel reboot kind of thing. So the stuff that happened in the 80s, it happens. He's like the boogeyman. It's a legend kind of thing. People don't really believe in it, and some legends are true, isn't it? It's been over 20 years since like the last original film or whenever.
Yeah, I think it was 94 or something, wasn't it?
And then we could do that thing, what Ken said, like it could be a whole big commentary on the social media aspect and all of that stuff, because he is a legend and it's something that happened a long, long time ago. You could probably get cameos by some of the survivors from people from the series and stuff as like a social media thing and like conspiracy theorist kind of thing. I don't know. Because we're building on the legacy kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd call it Freddy Returns.
You see, I would say I would say one thing on that.
Recast him. I love Robert Englund, but I would recast him. But I would have him cameo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because out of respect, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'd recast him is because it's quite a physical role.
Yeah, he's 75 now.
Yeah, he's 75 now. You ain't pushing mans down the stairs. You know what I mean?
Do you know what?
I wouldn't even do what they did with the 2010 film. Okay, I would cast an actor that is primarily a stunt. I'd get a complete unknown for someone that can build themselves off of a career kind of thing and sign them up for X amount of movies kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think?
What's interesting for me, what I was going to say earlier, is that I think the issue with like exploring social media, that works better for a different character than Freddy.
Okay.
Me, it works better for Candyman.
Oh yeah.
Because all you got to do is say the name 5 times. I feel like all it needs to be is a social media post. You know, you see it that it's like someone's like, oh my gosh, there's this screen grab from MySpace where somebody's talking about this thing that happened all these years ago. And they're like, what, MySpace? What was that? Oh, it's this, whatever. And it's someone who's researching, you know, the history of social media. I mean, obviously social media is not very old, but it's old enough that somebody could research the history of it, because there was High Five and there was MSN Messenger. Someone talks about that and then bring it up to now, and it becomes like a TikTok video. Somebody says it 5 times and then their camera feed breaks. And someone's like, is it real? Is it fake? Oh, no, it's probably fake. But then it's like, no, it's real. It really happened. This person's actually dead. And then, because let's face it, we live in a world, you know, we live in a world where stupidity is contagious. So you have all these TikTokers and all these social media influencers will be like, no, it's not real. I said it 5 times and I'm fine. And then it's like the people who die actually say it 5 times, and the people who don't, they've said it 4 times, or they said it 3 times, or whatever, right? So that works better for them. With Freddy, it's a little more difficult, because with Freddy, the issue is he terrorizes a certain group of people.
Okay, I've just had thoughts.
The Elm Street people. If you're not from Springwood, the Springwood state, if you're not an Elm Street kid, then really and truly, Freddy's got no beef with you.
Okay, so how about this then? I've just thought of this just now. So you have somebody who's from Elm Street, and there is the history in the town of this legacy of Freddy. And so there's a whole thing about, if you're from Elm Street, you can't sleep properly. So there's an app developer, and he develops one of these apps which tries and help you sleep. You know, where it's counting, talking to your ear, stuff like that. The app he ends up developing hits that certain frequency, which brings Freddy back into their dreams. And he starts terrorizing people who've downloaded and listened to that app who can hear that frequency or something like that. That would be a slightly different take on it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they did touch on something in Freddy versus Jason where they had it that all the kids didn't remember their dreams, so they didn't remember who Freddy was.
Yeah.
And I'm going to touch on the fact that was initially an idea brought forward by Peter friggin', was it either Peter Jackson? It was either Peter Jackson, I think it was, who, I believe it was Peter Jackson. I could be very wrong. It's either Peter Jackson or maybe Guillermo del Toro. It was a classic. It was someone we know for these great movies who had an idea for a Freddy movie where Freddy had been forgotten. And what people would do is people would basically go to sleep to find Freddy, and they would get out of him. Like, they would basically like prank Freddy. They would go into their dreams and they would like abuse him. And then he like accidentally manages to kill one of them, which starts to give him power, because obviously Freddy's powered by fear. He manages to kill one and then starts getting a little taste for it, starts getting the magic back, and then he comes after them. But yes, I would think a reboot of A Nightmare on Elm Street would be a lovely thing. Even a sequel to it would be a lovely thing. The sequel I want, though, I know I've been rambling, I know you guys just stuff to say, but the sequel, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Simple. I have the comic book. But the comic books, I have both the comic books, right? Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. It begins directly after the end of Freddy versus Jason, the movie. You find out the lake house that they're at, Camp Crystal Lake, is super close to Shop Smart.
Right.
Okay.
And what happens? It's super close to Shop Smart. You find out, well, Jason is a deadite.
Right.
And what happens is he comes back and he's got Freddy's head, and Freddy's not dead because obviously he's still got the head. And it's literally, the movie develops and it's like Ash gets involved. When Ash comes into it, it's a whole thing. But it's, is beautiful. The fact that they couldn't make this a movie, the fact that the comic book was the intention of the movie, was what they wanted to do after the movie. Oh, it's amazing.
Okay.
Listeners, I highly recommend that if you can find this gem, you do.
Okay, good tips. All right. Okay, sticking with Wes Craven, one that I thought of was Wishmaster. So this is a gem that was released back in 1997. It basically concerns a jinn, which is like an evil genie, wish granting, and basically escapes from a duel, and he's trying to capture the soul of the woman who released him and stuff like that. I think a remake of Wishmaster could be quite tasty.
Oh, definitely. I think it would be a magical thing.
And the last one really from my list. Yeah, go on.
No, go on. Sacha was going to say something.
No, go on, Ken.
Cool. So the last one from my list is The Fly. I feel that I'd probably go for a reboot for considering how old it is. Jeff Goldblum now isn't from everything he's done up until now. Again, it's not something that I think I'd want him involved in. So for me, I think it'd just be a straight up remake. I mean, it was 86 that it came out, and that was a remake of the 58 film. But yeah, I think it's time. I think it's time for The Fly to take its wings again. So yeah, that'd be my one for a remake.
Okay.
Okay, what else do you guys got?
Oh, I got a lot. Sash, please. I got a lot.
Okay, this isn't a film. This is a TV series. Like, kind of like an anthology series that all kind of meets up towards the end with different perspectives and stuff. Set in the future, it's a Terminator series. Bringing Terminator. Okay, no John Connor. Original characters, different Marines, lost people that are in the world of Terminator, how humans survive and stuff, and literally the scare element is the T-800s. Thing, going back to the original horror route.
Horror route of like the first movie. Yeah. Good shout.
Yeah,
you don't need Arnold.
No.
You could have anybody be a Terminator and literally just set it in the future war kind of thing. So it'll be an ongoing future war. You could do a thing where maybe you've got refugees going from one part of the country to the other kind of thing to meet up with resistant members and that kind of thing. And it's literally like a refugee story or something. And then how they go through the wasteland of what the world is like and stuff like that. You could do like a thing where you've got a group of Marines and they've got a fort basically, and they've got a VIP there, like a president or you know what I mean, whatever, and they've got to defend the fort. And there's a Terminator rather than many. Just have a Terminator is out there, and they don't want to open the gates in case it comes in, and then maybe it comes in and it's one of them, and they don't know who it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could do loads of different mini anthology stories, and expand that future world kind of thing, and then maybe from the series you could develop it into a brand new movie franchise.
All right, cool.
But that's what I would do with the Terminator, because as much as I love T2, they've tried to replicate it until it's been dead and buried. And I honestly think you could make a Terminator 3, and I say a Terminator 3, a third Terminator movie, but I think the franchise is dead and buried. At this moment in time, it's dead and buried, and you need to do something low budget and fresh. If you do a low budget movie, at this point, it's never going to happen.
No.
A TV show is probably the way forward, because you can, do something new with it, make something original, and then from what you build, you could probably, do something great with it. And considering all you're taking is the world, like, look at some of the best bits of Salvation. Salvation, it was more about the world than the fact it was a Terminator movie that made that good. But, you know, the problem with the film was that you didn't spend enough time in it, in the world. So, and that's the point of the show, to spend the time in the world and then meet these different kind of characters that probably don't have anything to do with them, but the ongoing thread is that, you know, Terminator's after them, or a Terminator's after them, and then you make them meet each other for the finale, if that makes sense. See the stories coincide and stuff, and maybe you get a season 2, or maybe that's it. I don't know, but that's what I would do with the Terminator IP.
Okay.
The only thing that I could add to that is I would, if I had creative control, I would make the show take place when the T-800s first roll off the assembly line.
Okay.
Right? So, because remember they had the whole thing of, oh, these Terminators have rubber skin. I was like, the first time it's got real human skin, you know, sweat, blood, breath, all of that. And then you just have that moment where you don't even let them know it's a Terminator show. This could be episode 1. You just let, you know, you're in a wasteland, the world is destroyed, a couple of things have gone wrong. You've got this group of survivors, you know, and then you've just got this guy who's in there with this group of survivors. They get picked up by the resistance. They find their way into this camp, and then boom, slaughterhouse.
Yeah. Okay, if you want more of our thoughts on the Terminator franchise, check out episode 4 of the Creative Control Movie Podcast, where we were fixing the Terminator franchise. There you go. Okay, Sash, have you got any more?
That's it off the top of my head. I mean, like,
cool.
I don't really think that much about anything else.
No, that's fine. Okay, Neil, do you want to start rattling them off? Because we're going to in this podcast at some time. So, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So, rattling them off. Okay. I would say, reboots. I want the Universal Studios Monster Universe.
Right.
Yes. I do have one. Sorry, man. Resident fucking Evil, man. God damn it.
Worthy.
Resident fucking Evil. But I'll tell you what. Do your thing. I'll get back to Resi.
Yes. All right. So I'm reeling them off, right? Universal Studios monster movies, exactly the way that they did them, right? Well, not exactly the way that they did them. I want modern updates, right? All you need is the basics, the basic premise, which is we have Dracula, and the basic premise is he makes his way from Transylvania to London. He finds, you know, the legend of his long lost love, Mina, and he goes apeshit trying to do what he's done. The BBC miniseries Dracula, I think the first 2 episodes, magical.
Agreed.
Right?
First 2, fantastic.
Magical. Then when they arrived and they were in the present day, got a little wayward.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you could, but I what you were going for, I was with you. I was riding with you. Right? So Universal horror movies, because even that creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all of these ones, definitely that. Another one, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
It's been a while. Yeah,
we've seen the character Dr. Jekyll and Hyde in a bunch of other movies, but I want them. I want a movie about them.
Yeah, that's right. Because it was he was in The Mummy, right? The Tom Cruise one.
He was in The Mummy. Before that, he was in Van Helsing. Before that, he was in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Nah, man, just give him his own movie. So there's that. Monster Squad, that old school movie Monster Squad, right? Bring that back. If you don't know about Monster Squad, it is basically the Goonies with monsters, with the Universal classic monsters. It's got the Wolfman, the Creature, Dracula, Frankenstein, versus a bunch of kids. Written by Shane Black. It's worthy, right? Basically, think of Stranger Things without Dungeons and Dragons. Replace the whole Dungeons and Dragons and the Demogorgon with the Universal classic monsters.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you have. It could
Good
work
shout.
wonders. Children of the Corn.
Oh,
Right.
God, yeah, that's the blast. Yeah.
Because it's a nice gem of a movie when you watch it, but a lot of Stephen King films were not given the respect that they weren't given the financial or cinematic respect that they were worth, because a lot of them they got the rights, they made a movie when they could and done, right? Which leads me on to Silver Bullet, which is, Stephen King with werewolves. That needs to be redone. Cujo, Stephen King with a crazy dog. Needs to be done. Salem's Lot, Stephen King with vampires. Needs to be done. The Dead Zone, Stephen King. But the thing is, the Dead Zone is slightly different. I think the Dead Zone works because the main premise was a guy who, if I remember correctly, he could dream. He could basically almost like see the future in his dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And a politician basically gets hold of him and tries to use him to win elections.
Right.
Wouldn't that be a beautiful moment when you think of some of our political leaders?
True.
Right? I ain't looking at any particular, political leaders, but I'm just saying, imagine some political leaders.
Nice.
And it's
Nicely done.
So there's that. What else I got? Christine. Stephen King does ghost cars. Even though that movie was a absolute fantastic movie, one of the best horror movies knocking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think you give that movie a real push. Oh man, it could have been something. It could have been instantaneously special. Moving away from Mr. King, Village of the Damned. With
that rings a bell.
Yeah, with the kids.
Yes.
That, I'm like, look, the older you get, the more you think most kids are little, pieces of sugar honey iced tea. So a movie about them, especially this generation, you could work some magic there. Rosemary's Baby. I just think it could be done. I know they did a remake quite recently with like Zoe Saldana and stuff, but no, like let's get it back on the big screen. Done. Fade to Black. This is a horror film that most people have not seen.
I have not heard of it.
Yes, it basically, the movie is about the killer of this movie is like a teenager who basically dresses up like famous monsters from movies to commit his murders. So he dresses up as Dracula, and I think he dresses up as like Frankenstein's monster or like the Mummy. He dresses up as all these other classic horror characters and then goes and kills people. And I'm like, look at the world we live in. How many horror films are there in the world? Imagine, oh, you're looking for a guy. No, I'm looking for a girl. How do you know? Well, somebody saw the girl who looks like the chick from The Ring kill this person. So why would I looking for a guy? Because the person who died here was dressed up like Pennywise. And I'm like, oh, so that could be something special there. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know it's not a horror movie per se,
but
and I know that every fan of the TV show is they want to come for me. I'm sorry, I'm in the 0.00.01% of people who prefer the movie to the TV show. I want to see a horror movie version of a film of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think it'd be beautiful.
Okay.
I have written treatments about that. I'd want to see that. One that I say it's a reboot, but it's actually not because it's never been made. the comic book hack slash. It's basically a monster hunter, Cassie Hack, who is literally, she's like a final girl who goes out and hunts slashers or, you know, your horror movie villains. Part of her comic series, she teams up with Chucky to I remember, there's a villain that I think the villain either kidnaps Chucky or tries to steal part of his power, and her and Chucky team up to kill this character, and then her and Chucky have to go at it. Hack slash. It would basically be what would happen if Sydney. Imagine if Sydney Prescott survived Scream, found out there were slashers all over America, and was like, "Yeah, I'm not having this." It'd be amazing.
Okay.
For sequels, I only have 2. Well, technically, I have 4, but we'll see, right? Attack the Block 2. But we can't really count that because I'm pretty sure that's in pre-production. I think it is.
Yeah, it's kind of in the works. Yeah, but fantastic film that was.
So that would be wonderful. The Frighteners 2.
Oh, okay.
Because I know it sounds like sacrilege, but I just think it was such a beautiful moment in film. It was the perfect mix of horror and comedy, and I just think we kind of need that. I would like to just see a continuation of that.
Okay.
Candyman 3, I guess you would call it, because what we got with Candyman, the latest one, I think that ending felt like it should have been the middle of the movie to me.
Okay.
The end of the movie, I felt like that should have been the middle. So I would like to see another film that ups the ante of that. And the final one is Wolf, a sequel to Wolf. Jack Nicholson, Wolf.
Oh, snap! Yeah.
Yeah, the end of that movie when Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer at the end of that movie, and she says the line, and you know what she is. Oh, I wanted to see more.
All right. Oh, dude, you come out with some gems there. That's awesome. That's awesome. Right, Sacha, you wanted to talk about Resident Evil. You're on mute, dude.
On mute. I think he's preparing his thoughts to come at us.
Before we get to Resident Evil, I say, like, Silent Hill. They're doing a Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing an actual by the original director of the first film. In fact, Konami went nuts. Okay, the other week, the other day. So Konami, for those that don't know, they've not made video games for a very long time, a good couple of years. Now, probably about 4 or 5 years now, they gave up their video game division. There was a whole thing with Metal Gear creator and stuff, and then all of a sudden they announced they were going to make a big announcement. And apparently they got a whole load of games on the way, but they've only dropped one announcement, which was for a Resident Evil 2 remake. Sorry, not Resident Evil.
Silent
Hill 2 remake on PS5, so current gen graphics. A actual PS5 sequel game to come out much later. That's also, I think, J.J. Abrams has something to do with it.
Okay.
So I'm like, huh? Okay. And they dropped another game for like the portable thing, and they're doing a new film based on number 2 with the director of the first film.
Yeah.
And the original composers back for all of these, all the games and the new film. And I'm like, damn, because that was one of the other things I loved about the original film. It had the same composer of the game doing the music. Fair enough, they switched Sean Bean's character to his wife being the protagonist from the game, but it worked. But that doesn't mean that Sean Bean's character won't show up in the new one, because I think think they've confirmed Sean Bean. I'm not 100% sure. If not, I hope they do, because that'll be cool. But I kind of think they have to be honest, especially the way they left the movie. But yeah, really excited. And if you haven't seen the first film, you should. And most importantly, if you haven't heard of PT, just watch a video of PT and you'll shit yourself. Like literally, that's 15 minutes. That will share horror. I had to play it, so yeah. And if you own a PS4 with PT installed, you're in for some monies, bro. So yeah, I haven't sold mine because I want to keep PT. But anyway, point being is Silent Hill. We're getting Silent Hill. That would have been on my list, the Silent Hill sequel, but we're getting one with Pyramid Man and everything, so that's cool. Otherwise, I'm going to keep this video games. Resident Evil, my God, they've never done this franchise justice. They've never done it ever, not once. I got semi excited with Welcome to Raccoon City because when I saw the trailer, I was like, "That's from the game. That's from the game." Mate, I don't know about this thing. And I don't know about that thing. And then I went and saw that thing with Kenan, and my God, it was so bad I forgot all about it. I had to re-add it to my worst films of the year's list. Even now, I'm thinking, because I famously did not like Black Widow, I have to rethink. I think Black Widow, I might have to change. I might have to swap that because Black Widow was bad, but it wasn't Resident Evil.
It wasn't Raccoon City bad, yeah.
It wasn't that bad. Like it was bad. It was terrible. I'll never watch it again. But at least basic filmmaking 101, whether I agreed or disagreed with it, was implemented in Black Widow, right? like the Resident Evil movie that came, it was like someone's kid had held a camcorder. It was bad. It was freaking bad. And then by the time the Netflix series came out, nobody cared. Okay, and it wasn't good because I watched about 3 episodes of it, and I was like, no, I'm out. I'm literally out. I've given you a whole extra episode worth of my life. I could have used that to accomplish something like reach to 100. Okay, so yeah.
Before you release it, check it's not as bad as Raccoon City.
Yeah. So, Resident Evil, you've seen Raccoon City, so you're kind of... No, but Ken has. You've played the games, though, right, Neil? Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I explain the games, Ken might not be lost because Raccoon City... First thing off the bat, either see Raccoon City, they tried to implement 2 storylines. They tried to implement the first game and the second game together as one thing badly.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
But hold on, but
yeah. Everything that doesn't make sense makes sense. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Claire meets Chris. Claire meets Chris in this movie, not once but twice. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, but yeah, okay. So,
how can you confuse me? I played the game. How can you confuse me?
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Do you know what they did to Leon in this film?
I think you told me that they tried to make him like he make cracks jokes or something.
They tried to make him
like comic relief.
A rookie straight on his first job on the force in the game.
He's basically like Captain America. He's like Steve Rogers, that kind of like.
Yeah, so yeah, he ain't like Steve Rogers, bro. He's not
even Steve Rogers before the Soldier Serum.
he's like okay, you know the term rookie?
Yeah.
He's just a rookie.
He's a rookie.
He's a
bad rookie. Like you still here, rookie?
Yeah.
He's the guy. He'd be like the guy on the Enterprise wearing the red shirt. Do you know? It's just like.
But somehow managed to survive throughout the movie. Like literally, like the guy didn't know how to load a gun and stuff. They made him fucking inconfident. Yes.
Yeah.
Leon Kennedy, they made the most incompetent person in that film. So every Leon Kennedy fan, you dodged the bullet, bro.
When you were saying it, and even when you said like they tried to merge the first game and the second game, in my head I was like, I kind of want to see it because, like, even though I know it shouldn't work, I just want to see it.
To watch it, to appreciate it, you do.
It's like, you know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like Two Girls, One Cup. It's, I know it's bad, but because I'm in my head, I'm like, I can't visualize how bad it is.
Guts to watch it.
I want to see it just because I can't visualize it being as bad.
So here's the real thing with Resident Evil. Here's the real thing. You can do it one or two ways, okay? And I'm leaning towards another way than the other. You can either do it as a movie, a series of movies, or you can do it as a TV show with multiple seasons. Now, the thing is, when I heard it was both games, I was like, okay, I don't know how that's going to work because that's so much content missed.
Yeah.
You're adapting one or the other in 2 hours, which they did badly. But then the other thing is, I can understand why they would try because it's all based on the same night anyway. You think about it, the trilogy of games, 1, 2, and 3 are based on the same night. 2 and 3 have the most, crossover.
Connectivity.
Yeah, because the mansion is a few miles away from the main town.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's only connected through the underground. So I understood why they attempted to do it. It's just the execution was poor. And it was just kind of like, well, give us more screen time. Where the hell was Barry? Barry wasn't in there. I didn't get my shark. Man. Okay.
Did they do Castlevania style, like anime?
The Resident Evil there's so many CGI Resident Evil films.
Are actually pretty decent.
And they're pretty good. Which makes it more difficult for me to understand how they could mess up with live action so badly.
Well, look at DC.
The thing is with Resident Evil, unlike Castlevania, where it's like something that requires like a big budget for demons and stuff like that, Resident Evil shouldn't even be that hard. It's a low budget horror movie thing. You know what I mean? If you were to do it as a movie, come on, it's simple. You just need a haunted mansion, loads of extras and zombies, and just write a script that is decent enough for the game. The only CGI element you need is for when Barry gets eaten by the shark. That's about it. Everything else in camera. Everything is in camera. And if you need to do something fantastical, you get that Lucasfilm shit that they have with Mandalorian, and you do it that way and cut down your production budget. But it shouldn't cost so much. I would cast Kurt Russell as Wesker, not the stupid guy they had in fucking Raccoon City, or who they got in that. Kurt Russell's my Wesker, have some star power. He's the only big name I'd have in the movie because you need like a veteran actor to kind of like, and then I'd get I'll get a brand new cast, you know what I mean, of young upcoming actors for these roles. I'd have Chris, Jill, Wesker, Barry, them in the mansion, and Rebecca Chambers from Resident Evil 0. And Resident Evil 0, I wouldn't do that first. I'd do that as a spin-off movie later on down the road. This is the prequel before, kind of thing. But then if I did it as a series, it would literally be a Game of Thrones idea where you've got multiple characters following different storylines and stuff. You've got Wesker, Barry, Jill, and Chris in the mansion. You have Leon and Claire in the police station, and I guess Jill. Well, I guess what happens at the mansion with Jill, she ends up in the city by herself, isn't it? Which coincides. Yeah. So maybe that's a season 2. So you know what I mean. But yeah, I would adapt it that way. To be honest.
All right, cool.
Funnily enough, the more you were talking and more I was thinking about it, I forget his name, but I think his last name is Powell. I think is Hangman in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah,
I'd have him as either. I mean, he could either be Chris or he could be Leon. I think he'd make an excellent Leon.
You could, but you know what? Now that you've said it, I think he would make a good Wesker. If you had Wesker younger, I think he could.
But that's the thing is, I feel like Wesker should be
older. Yeah,
older.
Sure. No, right? You're right. But no, I'm just thinking because Kurt Russell would be perfect if it was like I don't know 40 years ago. But but at the same time, it's an older character. It is an older character, and he is kind of spot on casting. You know what I mean? And they have it's the franchise itself. They've never gotten it right ever. You know what I mean? So you may as well give the fans something. You know what I mean? Give them something right. You know who else? You know what? After playing Resident Evil 2, the remake on PS4, like a lot, Dolph Lundgren as Mr. X.
Yeah, he's been saying that a long time.
Nah,
was never a
wrestler. I'd cast a wrestler.
You cast a wrestler, not Lundgren?
Yeah, Braun Strowman.
Okay.
If you know, if you any of my wrestling fans who are listening to this, Braun Strowman, Mr. X, shave that man down, put that coat on. I'm sorry, look, I'll be honest with you, right? Braun Strowman could be reaching to give me a hug. I will backstep. That man is huge.
All right, good shout. Right, thank you very much. That's going to wrap this episode up. Thank you very much for sticking with us. We hope we've given you some insight. Look, maybe you've heard some horror movies you've never heard before today, and you'll go discover them. But look, if you've got any ideas for horror sequels or reboots, shout off in the comments. Let us know your ideas. We appreciate it. Because there's a lot of content out there, and we're only 3 men. So, and I don't really watch horrors that much. So it's 2.5. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me today, guys. Much appreciated. As always, please make sure you like and subscribe to this video. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Creative Control Movie Podcast. If you're listening to this, you know where we're at. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and every podcast platform there is. So yeah, keep it going, keep supporting. We love you for it. So thank you very much, and until next time, happy Halloween.
Peace.